Spider's Web, and we're going to be carrying on with Blue Jay in a second. Forgotten something. Going back to the gun, the first model we did. I'd forgotten what I wanted to do with Ironbreaker. Is go around the buckles on her belt. There we go. Yep, I think that's all we need to do. Let's just add a little more there, and the same on this side, just for, well, not just for, just to break up all the black areas. There's a little too much, don't you think? Yep. And that bit as well. Right. She can go back and we can carry on with, I can find my kitchen towel. Right, let's continue now with Blue Jay. Now if you remember, the coat or her jacket we did in like a bluish black colour. Her jeans were bluey grey. So what we want to do is we want to still go with those colours, however we want to make them paler. So using Abaddon Black, which we need to do, we'll give the brush a wash and then we'll get the next colour out, which is going to be Altdorf-Gard Blue, which is that colour. I'm basically going to make the colour again that we used for the jacket. However, this time it's going to be, as I said, made a lot paler. So we'll add just a touch of the black to the blue, or add much more blue to the black, whichever way you want to see it. Oh, look at it. But we don't want it looking like the fan. We want it still looking dark, but not as dark, if you get me drift. And we can now go over, I just noticed that was her, so that's why I stopped before I went any further with it. Now as you can see, I'm not using an incredibly fine brush for this bit because I want it to be slightly darker for quite a bit of it, because we're coming back again to lighten it up a little more a little later. This is just a very broad sense of highlighting. We're just adding some paler colour to it. You'll see what I mean when we add more. So hopefully you can actually see that. It does look a bit brighter. Now we'll add just a little more of the Altdorf-Gard Blue and a little bit of Screaming Skull to make it much more paler. And I mean a little bit of Screaming Skull. And I'm going to change brushes for this because I don't want a very wide brush. I want to make some fine marks. So we'll we'll go with this and we'll just add the highlights where they need to go. I'm hoping you can see this okay. If I switch my lights on, it might be a little better for you. There we are. And her name's Blue Jay, so I don't really want to do a lot of black with her. I want to make her predominantly blue. And I'm just going to do the same here on her belt. I'm not quite sure what that is, but I'm just going to go over the blue there. I will be going back and putting some metallic colour on the MP3 player. I'm saying MP3 player, whether this is an MP3 player or not I don't know. Maybe something else. That's the only thing I can think of which has headphones, so there we are. As I say, it's just a very, you can just see if you look carefully the highlights there. And so I don't want to do it too bright. Okay, next we're going to be doing her gloves, which, if you remember, we did in a brown colour and then we went over with the blue. So we're going to use Scrag Brown, and I'm going to mix some of that in with some of the blue we've just used, or just the blue grey that we've just used for the highlights for the jacket. And it's just going to be on here. Oh yeah. And fine with this area. We don't really want much for this. No, it's just to add a little bit of something so you can see it's like a three-dimensional thing. And then I'm going to add a little bit more of the Screaming Skull, just to, as I say, brighten it up a little further so we're not going mad with it. There we go. Yep, add a little touch down there, and that will do. Okay, finally, for the highlighting techniques, we're going to be using a little bit of the Altdorf Guard Blue, a little bit of that Scrag Brown, just to grey it down a little, and a little bit, just a tiny, least tiny touch of the Screaming Skull. And we're going to go over the jeans. It's not much of a difference, to be honest, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little touch of white scar, and we'll just put it down there. Make it look as though the jeans have faded slightly. I'm going to add another wash to this, just to tie this in because it's a little bit pale yet. There's too much of a too much of a difference between the two colours. So I'm just going to add ink dry, just that little bit of a difference. But now this is where it gets fun. Oh dear. What I'm going to do is take a little bit, like a greaseproof papery type substance, with a little bit of the Altdorf blue on it. So that Altdorf blue I'm going to put white. I'm going to scrape off most of it, and then we're going to have she's the Blue Jay, she's got blue hair. I just realised I haven't highlighted her face yet. I suppose it's better doing her first. You can see we're working. I'm just going to add a few brighter touches to her as well, just to brighten it up and make it look a little bit less grey-ish, because it's not looking incredibly vivid blue as I was hoping it would. Now, just for a little bit of difference, I'm going to add some neat Altdorf Guard blue to some of the areas. So it looks like she's got like not just one set of blue in her hair, but quite a few different ones. I might even, just for the sake of humour value, get some white scar and just put a little bit of that here and there. And when I've done this, I'm going to go over it with a what do you call it? Not a shade. It's a glaze, a very pale blue. It'll be the Guillermin blue that I'll use. Again, so we've got blue, dark, medium blue, pale blue and light blue, or medium blue, pale blue and white in her hair. And now that's done, I'll get the Guillermin blue out, which is a glaze, as I say. That's it. And hopefully this will make it a lot more vivid. Alright. Okay, next we have to highlight her face, I suppose. Now I think if I remember rightly, I used quite a pale skin tone, so I'm going to continue with that. It was it Kislev Flesh that I used, I believe. So I'll add some of that to the palette with just a spot of white, just to make it that little bit paler. Not too much. And we'll I suppose I really should have waited for this blue to dry before I did the face, so I'll move down to the midriff area and just add a little bit here and there. I think it needs, and then obviously some on around. Not going too overboard. I'm going to try and get it so that it's away from the hairline. I'm going to try and do her cheeks and the rest of her face before I start. Okay, shush, it's somebody outside. Laddie, enough, thank you. Laddie, enough, thank you. One of the neighbours from the next block just walked past the window. Well, not walked past the window, but he's seen you through the window, that's why he's barking. I don't know about you, but I don't think the face actually fits this model. I'm going to use a little bit of rat skin flesh now. And that's going to be for her lips. There we go. And now just a spot of Screaming Skull. Dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee. Just for the time being. And that's going to be her eyes. I have to wait until the hair is done and then I can carry on highlighting and then try and finish the eyes. But while we're waiting for that, Spider's going to be done. And Spider's quite simply going to be used a very similar skin tone to the Blue Jay, very pale skin. You can see very watery. Very diluted paint going on here. Okay, so that's that done. Now I'm going to be going with black. Is that everything? Just tickle under there, just be on the safe side, and tickle there, just be on the safe side. Is that everything now that needs doing? I can't see anywhere else. Oh, I can try and get my brush in there to get just the back of that. There we are. Now, when we're saying I'm going to be putting this, doing this as like a metallic colour, I'm going to be doing that before I do anything else on this model. Well, for highlighting and anything more on the on her clothing, because if I catch her clothing, I don't want to be, well, if I catch her clothing as I'm doing anything at the back of her, it won't look as bad once I've started highlighting. You really could just put an oil wash, or just go over these areas again in white to make sure that they are white, and then go over with Duckenhoff Nightshade wash. I think I might do that actually, except for her hair, because her hair is going to be just a little bit different. Whilst Daka red to start off with, she's going to have bright flaming red hair. Yes indeed. I'm doing this now, but I want you to know that I'm not going to be going over this red with Carroburg Crimson. Can you guess what colour I will be going over, or what wash colour I will be going over her hair with? Answers on a postcard, please. So David Cameron, sod off with your chuffing election, because none of us are interested, because you're all a bunch of liars. 10 Downing Street, London.